And then let's cultivate our motivation and reflect on the kindness that we've received from other beings, beginning with our parents or whatever friends or relatives brought us up when we were little, our teachers, all the sentient beings who work in samsara, in society, and do their jobs so that we're able to have the food, clothing, shelter, and medicine, and all the other things that we use and enjoy. So really feel your interdependence with other living beings, and how, just like you, they want to be happy and not have pain. When you think about it, there's nothing so special about us as an individual that would make our happiness more important than others. So try and release the thought that always thinks me first. And really open your heart to caring about the situation of others. When we think that other living beings are in samsara, this cycle of uncontrolled rebirth, and all those beings who've been kind to us, then it only makes sense that we do something to try and free them from samsara. That we have compassion for their situation and seek to improve ourselves by following the Buddha's path, so that we can aid them on the path and also make a positive contribution to society as a whole. And so with that motivation, then let's share the Buddhist teachings together this evening. Okay, so I think the title of our talk this evening is Having Spiritual Confidence in the Workplace. Is that it? So I thought that was an interesting title for a talk, because what it implies is that people don't have spiritual confidence in the workplace, and they're trying to get some. Yeah. So when we talk about, not having spiritual confidence, kind of what does that mean? What is spiritual confidence in the workplace to start with? Yeah. So I just want to put out some ideas there. One is that how do we have our own sets of values and principles, our own ethical code, and can we live according to that in our workplace, at our job? Or does the nature of our job or the nature of our boss and our colleagues interfere with our ethical conduct? And another idea I had is when colleagues start talking about religion, or spiritual practice, do we feel confident in discussing our spiritual practice? Or do we feel timid or inhibited or worried about what other people are going to think? Okay, so those are the ideas I have. Do you have other ideas of what spiritual confidence in the workplace might involve? Anybody?
We didn't show at the workplace asking for spiritual life. And I wish to bring up the fact that everything begins with a question. So when we show at the workplace, we didn't ask the question, do we need to be ethical? Now when we ask the question, we try to answer that question.
Okay.
But I thought when you start like this...
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, so that's an interesting point, actually. When we go to work, are we even expecting to have something spiritual in our life to start with? Yeah, so that's a good question. For me, I consider spirituality to be integrated in every facet of my life. And so it's not that if I go to work or if I go here or there or do this or that activity, that I don't bring my spiritual practice with me, that I leave it behind somewhere else. To me, our spiritual practice is something that's to be lived in every moment of our life as much as possible. That doesn't mean that, and to me, spiritual practice means the internal process of monitoring what is happening with my body, speech, and mind, checking my motivation to see if I have a self-centered intent or a kind intent that wants to benefit others. So when I'm talking about spiritual practice, I'm not talking about praying and bowing and some kind of external display of religion or religious practice. I'm talking about internally integrating what my spiritual practice is in how I treat other people, how I speak, and so on. Okay, because certainly you wouldn't go to work and, sit down at your desk or at your factory. Before you sit down, make 3 prostrations and then do some chanting and, like that. Okay, I don't think that would really be appropriate to do out loud. Okay, however, I think before we go to work, it's really important to generate our motivation. And to me, generating our motivation is a very important part of our spiritual practice, And then when we arrive at work, maintaining that motivation and then acting according to it in whatever we're doing. Okay. So that brings up the question, if we're talking about your motivation for going to work, it brings up the question, why do you go to work? Okay. And I think that's a very important question for people to ask themselves and to be aware of. Why are you going to work? Is it just to get money? Yeah. Is it, if you didn't have to go to work, if you didn't need money, would you not go to work? Yeah. Do you go to work to offer service? Yeah. To do something that's beneficial to others? Do you feel satisfied with the work that you do? Do you feel like you're really contributing? You know? So why are you going to work to start with? Okay. And I think it's something that many people don't think about very much, because in our society, from the time you're this big, you know you're going to get an education so you can go to work. So people don't stop and think about it. It's just, well, this is what everybody does. This is what I've got to do. But I think that bringing awareness to, well, why am I going to work is really essential. Okay? And so here, what I think is important, when we get up in the morning or before we go to work, to really sit and think, yeah? And if we're not clear on our motivation, then to really stop and cultivate a good motivation by thinking something along the lines of, I have unique talents and abilities, and I want to offer my energy to other people to make a contribution to their lives that is going to make their life better. So whether, you might be working in an office, doing accounting, doing data analysis, planning something. You may be working in a laboratory. You may be working in a factory. You may be working at a service job, answering the telephone or dealing with people. But in whatever the job is, to really think, I'm doing this not just for myself, but to really contribute to the well-being of other people. Yeah, because whatever our job in society is, the result has something to do with other people. Yeah, doesn't it? You're not doing a job that has nothing to do with other living beings. Yeah. Because, a rock isn't asking you to do work. Yeah, it's to produce something that benefits others. So everybody's job in one way or another is involved with serving customers, serving clients. Yeah. And so to be aware of that this is an opportunity for us to really connect with living beings and to put positive energy into the work that we're doing. Yeah, because other people sense it. Yeah, they sense it. Especially if you're working at a job where you're dealing with other people. You may be directly dealing with other people. So you may be working at a service job where there's customers or clients, or even if you're working in a job where you're not dealing directly with the public, you're interacting with your colleagues and your boss or your employees. Yeah, so there's always other people that we're interacting with. And what we say and do and think influences them. And so to go into work with an idea of, I want to benefit all these people, the ones that I contact directly in my work, that I work with, and the people who are going to benefit from whatever work I do, the people in the public who are going to benefit from this. Okay? So if you cultivate your motivation before you go to work, then when you're working, you have a sense of purpose. And I think when we have a sense of purpose, when we feel like we're contributing to the welfare of other living beings, then we feel good about ourselves. Yeah? Because we feel that what we do matters. We feel that we have something to contribute. And so we feel good about ourselves. That also brings what they call job satisfaction. Okay? So you like your job, yeah? You feel it's useful. So take the time before you go to work to really generate your motivation. And if you do that every day, then at the end of the day, when you come home, you'll feel like, wow, I did something really good that other people are going to benefit from. And I may not know those people directly, yeah, but somehow somebody is going to benefit from what I'm doing. And I wish those people happiness. Okay? And so, just thinking like this changes your mind and changes how you're relating to people. Okay? So be aware of that, how what you're doing influences others. So you may have a job, maybe you're an engineer and you stay in the office and you're working with, figures and doing math and testing the, how much weight a concrete column is going to have and how many you need to put in this building and things like that. Well, why are you doing that? You're doing that because somebody's going to work or live in that building and you want them to be safe. And you have the knowledge and ability to do the engineering to create a building that is going to be safe for other people to live and work in. So you're aware of the effect of your work on other people and you care about them. And then you can really see that you're contributing. So you may not know who's going to live in that building or who's going to work in that building, but that doesn't matter because it's some living being who's, or a group of living beings. Okay? So that's something that's important. Yeah, don't think that, my job is like not necessary. Everybody's job is necessary. I remember seeing once a video and they were talking about NASA, the space agency in the US, and when they were launching one of their first things into space. I can't remember what it is. But the video that I saw about it, they had created a feeling in their workplace so that even the janitor, they interviewed the janitors, and the janitors felt that they were contributing also to sending somebody to the moon or to putting a satellite in orbit, because the janitors are very important for the workplace with all the other space rocketeers, where all those people worked. Yeah. And I thought it was really wonderful how, there was a common goal and they really included everybody in that goal. They didn't just say, it's only the physicists who are sending the rocket into space. They're the only ones who count. No, everybody who works in the office, including the people who take out the garbage, are essential for this effort. Yeah. And so if you can create that kind of atmosphere in the place where you work, it really affects all of your colleagues. And if you generate an awareness of your contribution to the purpose that your whole company or whatever it is does, then you really see that what you're doing is essential and important and you're contributing. Okay? So that's something that's very important, and you really do that by generating your motivation every morning before you go in. Or if you're in a managerial position, to talk to the people who are working under you and present them with the big picture and the scope and how, what you're all doing together is going to make a big difference in other people's lives. Okay, so that's one way I think you bring spirituality into your practice. Yeah. Then the other one is, while you're working at your job, to be able to keep your ethical principles and your values, and if you've taken any of the precepts, to be able to keep your precepts at the place that we work. So I think that's very important. In Buddhism, we have the 5 lay precepts that we encourage people to take. So not to kill or to harm anybody physically, not to take things that haven't been freely given to us, not to use sexuality unwisely or unkindly, to abandon lying. Yeah, and included in the precept to abandon lying is also implied not to use our speech to create disharmony, not to insult or ridicule or hurt other people's feelings by what we say, and not to waste people's time through idle talk. And then the 5th precept is not to take intoxicants. So if you use these 5 as the basis of your ethical code and apply them at work, first of all, you're going to get along well with your colleagues. Because if we look, what creates problems with the people we work with when we harm them physically, when we take their things, when we misuse sexuality, when we lie or speak in a divisive way, and if we show up at work intoxicated. So, if we're able to keep those precepts, we do our job better and we create a better atmosphere around us, and we get along better with other people. Now, you might think, well, this kind of sounds funny to say that, you should be aware of ethical conduct at your work, but actually it's quite important. I hear a lot of stories, and I'm sure you people read in the newspaper lots of stories of, for example, Singapore is a lot more peaceful than my country. Okay. But, in my country, it happens that sometimes somebody is dissatisfied at work, and then they will hit somebody. Or worse yet, they'll bring a weapon to work and kill people. Okay? So you can see, these 5 precepts are really important, because if people in your workplace are harming each other physically, if they don't feel physically safe with each other, you're not going to be able to accomplish very much. Okay? So keeping the precept like that, then other people feel safe around us. Yeah? And the second precept, to not take what hasn't been freely given to us. Yeah. So, and to protect other people's property. So if we do that, then we respect the company's property. We don't take things that belong to the company for our own personal use. Okay, that's a form of stealing if we do that. Our colleagues' personal items at work, we respect. We don't take them. Okay. And so here too, we can see that if we don't take things that haven't been given to us, if we respect and protect other people's property, it creates an atmosphere of trust at our workplace. And we all know that if you trust the people you work with, you feel a lot more relaxed. Yeah, than if you're afraid that somebody's going to take your stuff. The third precept, okay, to abandon unwise and unkind sexual behavior. Now, I don't know, has the Me Too movement come to Singapore? Have you heard about that? Yeah. In the US, it started a couple of years ago where it's predominantly women who are speaking out about being sexually harassed or abused at their workplace. And it's called the Me Too, Me Too, because one woman says, this happened to me, and then everybody else says, me too, it happened to me. And it's really coming out how much women are exposed to sexual harassment at their workplace. Yeah. And if you don't feel comfortable, again, if you don't feel safe, if you're afraid a colleague is going to make unwanted advances, if you're afraid your boss is going to, push you down on a cot, a couch, during an interview or something, I mean, you're not going to be very happy at work. And if you don't respect other people's boundaries like this, people are not going to want to work with you to start with. Okay, so in the US, this has really come out as quite a big problem. Yeah, and I'm glad the women are speaking up about it, because there's no reason why anybody should have to put up with unwanted sexual advances. Women, do you agree? Yeah. Men, are you going to keep your hands to yourself? Are you going to keep your mouth closed? Are you going to respect the people that you work with? Yeah. Okay. So all this is part of our spiritual practice at work. Okay. And I think, if I can just pause here, and speak to people that if somebody is sexually harassing you, then you report them immediately. Yeah. This is quite important because, very often women feel, I can't say anything. They'll fire me if I complain. I've got to go along with what they're doing because otherwise we won't close the deal. There's all sorts of pressure on people that is really not right. Yeah. And so I think now that people are talking about it in society, if, anything like this happens, then people should report it. Yeah? What do you think? Yeah, I think so. Okay, then the fourth one is lying. And speaking harshly, speaking in a way that creates division at work. So this too, is part of our spiritual practice. And if you watch dynamics at a workplace, you can see people lying. Like somebody doesn't want to go to work, or they're hungover because they drank too much the night before. So they call in and make an excuse and lie. You're trying to sell a client or a customer something, and you lie. When I was here last year, somebody asked in a talk I was giving, they said, my boss wants me to lie. What do I do? Because the boss, maybe they have a quota, maybe they want to make more money. So they tell their employees they don't say lie. They say it like this, but you know very well what you're saying is not true. Okay. And so somebody said, what do I do at my workplace? They want me to lie. And I don't feel right about lying. And I said to that person, if I were you, I would quit my job. And that person looked at me as if I had told them to jump off of a 500-foot cliff into an ocean filled with monsters. Like the idea of quitting your job because you have a corrupt boss were like, they would rather die than do that, and it really puzzled me. Because you people are educated, you have talents, the economy is doing fine. If you quit your job, you can get another one. It's not that hard to get another job. And it certainly beats creating negative karma, lying to customers and clients and feeling uneasy, because you're deceiving people who should be able to trust you. And especially if a superior in your workplace is asking you to do something unethical, it's like, that's not right at all. I wouldn't want to work in a place like that. And I would have no qualms in saying bye-bye. So here's another question that comes up a lot. Especially Singaporeans ask this question. Other people in other countries ask too, but especially Singaporeans. And they say, I have to talk with these people and close the business deal. And to close the business deal and get the people to sign the contract, I just have to exaggerate a little bit on this point or that point. And so there's nothing wrong with that, is there? I have to do it. I love when people say, I have to. The only thing we have to do in life is die. That's the only have to. Everything else is optional. So you should be saying, I am choosing to lie. Ooh. People don't want to say that. They want to say, I have to, because that way they can blame somebody else for their own choices, without taking responsibility for their own actions. But the thing is, if you believe in the law of karma and effect, I have to does not save you from creating negative karma. Okay. So you need to be, whenever you say, I have to, stop and say, I choose to. And then really look at yourself and ask yourself, do I really want to do this? Is this a choice that I want to make? Because if it isn't, then I shouldn't do it. Because I don't have to. Nobody's holding a gun to my head saying, if you don't lie to this customer, I'm going to kill you. Okay, we're choosing to. And I remember a friend of mine worked for Levi Strauss in Hong Kong many years ago. And so I told her about people asking me this question about lying in your workplace in order to close a deal and sell something. And she was an executive in Levi Strauss. And she told me that actually if you deceive a customer, you're going to hurt your own business, because eventually the customer is going to find out that you overcharged them or that you lied about the service contract. And when they find out that you've lied, they're never going to do business with you again. And they're not going to recommend you or your company to their friends. So she said to me, it's much better to tell the truth. Maybe you make a little less money in the short term, but in the long term, your customers keep coming back. Yeah, and you have a good relationship. And so, it's better not only for the company, and financially, but it's better for your own peace of mind. Yeah, because I think, my goodness, if you lie about something that you're selling, and maybe saying that something is safe when it's not, and then other people use it and they get hurt, how would you feel? Like this thing that's going on with, it's the 737 planes. Is that it? Remember there was Lion Air in Indonesia and there was an accident, because Boeing made a plane that was defective. And then in someplace else too, there was an accident very soon after that. And they're really looking, and why did these two planes go down and many people get killed? It was because the people who were, working to make the planes and doing the safety checks didn't pay attention and were just kind of going over things. Well, yeah, that's okay. When it wasn't okay, the workmanship wasn't okay, but they okayed it anyway. And as a result, people died. And I think, now how would I feel if that was my responsibility at a company and I was either reckless or I lied? And then people got hurt or killed. They lost their life because of it. I mean, I would feel horrible. So better, to tell the truth. And if your company is making especially airplanes and are defective and you're in charge of either making the planes or doing the safety checks, tell the truth and, protect people. Don't just worry about selling a lot of planes and making a ton of money. Yeah, because at the end of the day, we're the ones who have to live with ourselves. Yeah. And if we don't feel good about what we've done, it's very difficult, inside. Okay, so that's another aspect of bringing spirituality into work. Being honest, talking to people kindly. I got to talk about this too. In your workplace, have you noticed, and this happens whenever there's a big group of people tend to form little cliques. And then you talk badly about other people in the workplace. Does that happen where you work? I see some nodding heads. Yeah. And so the way that you become friends with people in your workplace is you join a clique that gossips and criticizes somebody else in the workplace. So that's how you bond with your friends, because you all sit there in your group going, do you know what so-and-so did? Do you know what so-and-so did? Can you imagine what that person's doing? Oh, this is so terrible. And then you become part of a group because you're trashing somebody else. Is that what we want to do in order to fit in? Yeah. And, another thing people often say to me is that this dynamic happens at work where people are talking badly behind the back of other people. And they say, I don't feel comfortable about it, but everybody in the workplace is doing it. And if I don't join in, I won't have any friends. Really? Really? If you don't trash other people's behind their back, you won't have any friends? That's what makes you a likable person, is that you gossip and criticize other people behind their back? Come on. Yeah. And if you say, well, those people will think I'm stuck up if I don't gossip about so-and-so and criticize so-and-so when everybody's doing it. They think I'm stuck up. Really? Yeah? So what you're really saying then is, if you don't criticize other people, then that group you hang out with are going to criticize you for being a stuck-up person because you don't criticize other people. Do you want to be friends with people who criticize you because you're trying to be kind and not gossip about people behind their back? Do you want to be friends with people who are like that? Yeah. Do you want to, create a group of people and have the thing that bonds you together, the fact that you all criticize Joe over there? Think about it a little bit. Think about it. What kind of person do you want to be? So people say to me, what do I do if, I'm talking with some people and then they start to criticize the boss or, some other colleague? What do I do? And I say, either one idea is you change the topic, and it's quite easy to change the topic. You just take one word the other person says and you lead it in the discussion in another way about that one word, Like, somebody's criticizing, that person always arrives late for work. And then you start talking, then you change the topic and you talk about arriving late And you say, I have a problem getting up in the morning too, and arriving on time. And do you have that problem? And what do you do to get someplace on time? So you just, you take what somebody's talking and you redirect the conversation. Okay, so that you don't have to get involved in just criticizing one person. So that's one thing. Another thing you can do is just basically express how you feel and say, please excuse me, and you excuse yourself from the group. You don't have to tell them why you're doing it, but you can also say, please excuse me, I feel uncomfortable about the way we're talking about somebody else. Yeah. So you're not blaming the other people. You're just saying, I feel uncomfortable with this discussion. And then you excuse yourself. And it will make the other people maybe stop and think about what they're doing and how they're speaking. Okay. What I find so interesting about us human beings is we are so afraid of saying something that someone else won't like, that we get ourselves all tied up in knots. And when I know this happens to me too, sometimes it's like, I don't feel like doing this. I don't want to do this. But what's this person going to think of me? And there's a lot of pressure to do it. And how do I get out of it? And Have you been like this at work sometimes? They're having a Christmas party. I don't like Christmas parties. Do you like Christmas parties? Yeah, I don't celebrate Christmas. It is my most unfavorite time of year. I really don't like the holiday season. It's just too phony baloney for me. So people say, let's have a party. And it's like, I don't want to go. And then, but how do I get out of it? Because everybody's going and, the boss expects me to go and people are going to think I'm unfriendly if I don't go. And we get ourselves all worked up about it. And you know what I've discovered in those kinds of situations? You just say the truth. And you just say, I'm sorry, I don't really enjoy parties very much. Yeah. One of the reasons I don't enjoy parties is because they're too noisy and I can't hear people speak. And you have to shout to have a conversation. So I'm sure, if somebody invited me to a party and kept pushing, if I just said, I'm sorry, I really don't enjoy parties because I like to talk to people, personally and get to know them. And at a party, there's so many people talking at once in a room that I can't hear anybody. So please excuse me if I don't join the party. Yeah, what's wrong with saying that? Do you think, what you think is like, but if I say that, then at the party, they're all going to talk about why I'm not there. Yeah. And she didn't come because she thinks parties are too loud. Oh, how horrible. What a horrible person she is. Yeah. She likes to have, do you really think at the party, everybody's going to spend their time talking about why you're not there? Yeah? Do you really think you're so important that you're going to be the hit of the party by not being there? Yeah. I mean, come on. Yeah. So I find in so many situations, if we just say the truth, people understand us. Whereas when we're trying to figure out how to make up an excuse, we get all tangled up and then people don't believe our excuse anyway. Another situation has to do with the fifth precept, not taking intoxicants. So especially, Christmas parties, New Year's parties, Chinese New Year. Do people drink at Chinese New Year? Happy New Year, everybody. Yeah? So you're invited somewhere and people are drinking and they ask you what you want to drink and you don't want to drink, but you're afraid to say water or juice or tea or, whatever it is, Milo. You're afraid to say what you actually want to drink because what are people going to think about you if you don't drink alcohol? They're going to think that you're a prude. They're going to think that that you think you're better than other people because you're not drinking. Yeah. So again, there is so much peer pressure. I don't think that our friends actually put the pressure on us. Once in a while, somebody may say something, but generally, we put the pressure on ourselves because we think we need to drink in order to fit in with the other people. And at the same time, you tell your children, don't drink and take drugs just because your friends are doing it. Right? What do you tell your kids? You want your kids to be safe. So you say, don't do these things, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just because your friends are doing it. Make your own decisions. Don't succumb to peer pressure. But then what do? Yeah? Oh, they're going to think I'm very strange if I don't have a cocktail. If I don't have some wine, if I don't get a little bit, yeah? So it's totally hypocritical, isn't it? So do you think your kids are going to listen to your advice when you don't follow your own advice? Kids are not dumb. Yeah, they look at what their parents do. And if their parents don't follow, if you tell your kid don't do that and then you go ahead and do it, boy, your kid's going to think it's okay. Yeah. So I have so many people come and tell me that they don't like drinking at parties that sometimes I wonder if anybody really wants to be drinking at the party or if they're all drinking because they think the other people want them to drink. Yeah. I mean, what is wrong with just saying, I don't drink? What's wrong with it? Yeah. Oh, but they're going to think that I'm different and they won't like me. Oh. Well, do you want to be liked by a bunch of drunkards? Yeah. And anyway, again, do you really think you're so important that if you don't drink, that's what everybody at the party is going to be talking about? Yeah. So, yeah, we're very strange, us human beings. We're so afraid of what other people are going to think about us. Even if we don't know what they're going to think about us, we think we want to do what we think they think we should do. Yeah, right? Yeah. So we don't think for ourselves. We don't specifically ask others what they think about things, but we think about what we think they think we should do. Yeah. If this isn't making you crazy, what will? Yeah. Because that means before I do anything, what are people going to think about me? Yeah. Or somebody starts talking about religion at work and they ask you what religion you are. And you all of a sudden go, I don't want to say I'm Buddhist because they might be Christian and then they'll ask me to go to church. And I don't want to go to church. And they'll ask me while I burn paper money, but I don't burn paper money. That's a Taoist practice. I don't want to tell them I'm a Buddhist because what are they going to think of me? Yeah? Are you ashamed to be a Buddhist? You should have self-confidence in being a Buddhist. Yeah? Somebody says, are you going to church for the holidays? Oh, I don't go to church. Oh, well, come to church with me. No, thank you. I'm a Buddhist. Yeah? I'm going to go to a meditation retreat. I'm going to go make offerings at the temple. I'm going to go do some meditation or some chanting. Yeah? You just tell them. And if they say, oh, but really, my church is so much fun. We play the guitar and we sing and we dance and it's great. And if you're single, you'll meet somebody there. We have a great time. You gotta come to church. And then you get really scared. How do I say no? If I say no, what are they going to think about me? Well, they'll think that you don't want to go. And what's wrong with them thinking that you're not going? What's wrong with that? Yeah, I don't want to go to church. Yeah, I say thank you, but no. Yeah, why are you so nervous about it? Yeah. If they say, come to church, then you say, I'll take you to the temple. Yeah? Really? You can learn to meditate. Yeah, you should really learn to meditate. It calms your mind. We do beautiful chanting. Yeah, the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha are infallible objects of refuge. Yeah, they don't judge you and send you to hell. Yeah, come to the Buddhist center and the temple with me. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Oh, no, I can't say that. We're really very foolish. Okay. So we don't push religion on anybody else, but we also don't let them push their religion on us. Yeah. We've had it happen at the Abbey. We live way out in the countryside. Okay. It's so, and you have to walk up a hill to get where we are, drive up the hill. So sometimes we've had people come and, ring the doorbell and say, I want to tell you about Jesus and, here, give you these things to read and so on, because we have the one true faith. And I just say, thank you very much. I think if you practice Jesus' teachings about compassion and love and tolerance and forgiveness that will help you very much in your life. I'm a Buddhist. I practice those kind of values myself. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Settles it. Yeah? You just tell the truth. You just tell the truth. But people say, oh, but they rang the doorbell. They want to give me this. I don't want this literature. I don't really want them to come in the house. But what do I say? I just told you what to say. You know? And you just say, no, thank you. I have my own religion. I practice love and compassion and tolerance. I hope you practice those values too. Goodbye. That's it. Okay. So, this is, how you bring your spiritual practice into work. And, you have confidence in your own values. And you know that you can express what you want to do and what you don't want to do in a firm but kind way. And so it doesn't make you nervous about it. Yeah? Okay. So we have a few minutes for questions or comments. Yes, please. You can either write things down if you want and pass them up, or use the microphone.
Thank you very much, Venerable, for your teachings. If anybody,
where are you? Oh, there you are. Okay. Yes.
if anyone has any question for Venerable, you can either raise your hand and we will pass the microphone to you. Yeah? Anybody has any question? Or maybe you can. Okay, there.
Venerable, I would like to, you mentioned that we shouldn't impose our religion on our colleagues. So let's say I'm a junior staff in a new office and I see people killing ants and they kill it very viciously and I feel very uncomfortable.
You see people doing what?
Killing ants.
Killing ants. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
How could I, talk about this and yet not impose these values on them?
Okay. So in something like killing ants, if there's a way that you avoid killing them, maybe, because you can put powder in different places that scares the ants away and things like that, then say to the people, this is when I have ants in my place, this is what I do. You get some cayenne pepper, or you spray some peppermint oil or something, and I'll bring some of that for you, and you can try that, and that'll get rid of the ants for you.
Venerable, recently I have friends or colleagues who they tend to backstab. So I expressed that I one-to-one to the person. I said, I do mind when someone backstab me, so I do not backstab others. So if I have something I'm not happy with the person or concerned, I would speak directly with the person. And that person replied to me, he said, I don't mind being backstabbed.
You don't mind what?
The person replied me, he doesn't mind being backstabbed.
He doesn't want to be.
He doesn't mind. He doesn't mind people backstab him.
Okay.
The reason why I was telling him that because I realized he tends to backstab others.
So I'm missing a word. Except what? Backstabbing.
Backstabbing.
Okay, good. Okay. Yeah. So you're not backstabbing.
But I realized this coworker or my boss, he tends to backstab.
Yeah.
So I expressed that I don't backstab.
Right.
Because I mind people backstabbing me, so therefore I do not backstab. So his reply to me was, he said he doesn't mind people backstabbing him.
Oh,
Yeah.
And so you can say, well, that's fine if you don't mind people backstabbing you, but I mind people backstabbing me, and so I request you not to do it.
And then I try to understand from his perspective. He said that if it's a fact, he doesn't mind people talking about him. But if it's not a fact and people are talking behind his back, and that remains behind his back, he said.
I missed that last part.
He said if someone backstab him,
Yeah.
if that is the fact,
Then he doesn't mind it.
yeah, he owns it.
Yeah.
But if it's not a fact, then he will put it behind him. I mean, he's not bothered about it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So what's your problem?
So I see where he has some truth to that. So
Uh-huh.
I did a test to him because I heard people backstab about him. So I told him actually what the person had said to him. And I realized that he doesn't quite take it very well. So it's like a form of, well, that's a fact. So I told him that it doesn't matter what you think. The fact is she thinks you're wrong. And it doesn't matter if you're right, if that's a fact or not. It's just a perception.
Okay.
Yeah.
So okay. So first of all, yeah, it's not wise to tell this person what that person said about them.
Because his answer to me at that point, because he doesn't mind people backstabbing.
Yeah. So you wanted to test
actually
him out.
the intention was not to. The intention is not to create discord because they are the same group of people. So I'm in a situation where people taking backstab as normal, but in front we put up a smiley face, a happy face. So
what is your question?
So my question is, it's very gray. Like how much to, and I told him eventually that I look forward to him backstabbing me. So I look forward. That means I learned from him that I wouldn't mind. I should not take it seriously if he would backstab me. So in other words, I look forward that he would backstab me.
Yeah.
So I told him that.
Okay.
Yeah. So then the problem is me because I am not comfortable with being backstabbed. Because I try to see the
you know,
person.
with this going on quite a while, I need one short sentence. I need a question that you want me to respond to.
Maybe no question on that.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
You know, just in general, you know, if people talk about other people and say mean things and whatever, don't get involved with it. You know, somebody says, oh yeah, it's fine if other people criticize me to my face. They're just talking. You know, they're going to be ego sensitive. Yeah. And really, it's not good if this person tells you something about that person, tell this person to go talk to that person directly. Don't get in the middle saying, oh, so-and-so said this about you. You know, don't get in the middle of something like that.
Venerable, here there's a lady, there's a question for you.
Hi.
Can I pose a question now?
Yeah.
I just like to check. Sorry. Let's say the annual leave I entitled is already all used up, and then I got a lot of NCs, and then there's a very important spiritual practice in the event in the temple I need to attend, but I don't have any annual leave to use. So can I take an MC? And I think this is a line, but it's for the goodwill.
Oh, you have to decide that. I'm not going to decide that for you.
Oh, hi. I just wanted to say that first of all, it's kind of funny you're James on the church. I found it really funny. You're very light-humored, and yeah, especially I grew up in the church. But it's okay because I practice other things now. But I think my problem is like in terms of work. So my dad, he lost his job a few years ago, and he hasn't been able to find a job of like an equal position or pays as high. And it's really down his self-esteem for the past few years. And it's been going on for a few years, especially because now my mom's the main breadwinner, but it's still like struggling, and he's in a lot of debt to the point that he asked me for, like, he would try to borrow like money from me or my brother. And it's a bit disheartening because we want to be there for him. And sometimes I would try to tell him and say, you know, you need to take charge of your life. You can't just be the victim, and you can't just play the victim. And I know it hurts his ego, especially being like, you know, from his background. And I just want to know like how I can be there for him. And yeah, and I'm also quite young. I'm like the eldest as well. And I'm doing my very first full-time job. So I'm helping a bit with finances, but I don't want, you know, like, I just want to know how I can help him get out of this rut, because it's come to the point where he's relying on religion to the point that he feels a bit delusional, because he wouldn't, like, I would tell him to go out and chase your dreams and really, you know, take matters as well as keeping the faith. But then he would just tell me like, oh, it's okay. Like it will come. I'll get a better job with better pay and boss and all that, without doing the work that needs to be done. Yeah. So, do you have any advice?
Whoa. I don't know. Can you connect him with some kind of job counselor? You know, somebody who, helps people find jobs, or does counseling for people who are out of work. You know, something like that.
Yeah, it's a bit hard. So if anyone here wants to help my dad out, please feel free to approach me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, other than that, just like on a spiritual and like on a like filial.
Well, I think, just to encourage him and, comment on his talents and his abilities, and, encourage him to go out and look for work, and remind him of how good he'll feel. Yes, there's obstacles now, but he'll be able to overcome them, and because he has talents and abilities, and, just basically encourage him like that. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Any more questions?
Yeah.
One more question.
Somebody over here?
Yeah. Hi, Venerable. I have a question about, it's kind of related to the question about ends and people backstabbing. So in the workplace, I think everyone's got different perspectives. And when in a situation where I have a different perspective from, say, a co-worker, I think I'm asking for my own mental health and my own sake. Like, how do I maintain that spiritual confidence such that when I do not agree with somebody else, I find that I don't get a closure, or that there's a conclusion to things. And I think that kind of affects me in my confidence at work. So how should I go about handling such situations such that I can go about doing my work confidently and not compromise?
So you have differences of opinion with people.
Yeah, that's right.
And you feel that you can't settle it.
Yeah.
Are these differences of opinions about how to do the job at work, or are they just about other topics in life?
It can be in general, but let's say if in a workplace, then yeah, in terms of doing work in a specific way, it may not be like a direct right or wrong. It's just doing things differently.
Yeah. People do things differently, don't they? Yeah. I always joke with people, if you have a roommate, some people put the cups in the cupboard upside down, and some people put them right side up. And everybody has a good reason. The upside down people put them upside down so dirt doesn't fall in the cup. The people who put the cups right side up do it because the shelf may be dirty and they don't want the rim of the cup to get dirty. So people do things in different ways. So it's just something, you need to talk out with your colleague and, see if you can do something where maybe you build on each other's ideas, or you ask that person, if you're wondering, you're not sure how their idea is going to work out, say, can you kind of trace out the steps for me of how you're thinking of doing this so that we can get to this end, because it's real helpful to me to have the big picture about how your idea is going to work. Ask them for more information.
Yeah. Let's say if there would be compromisation on both sides all the time. I think it's more of the conversation to have with myself, such that I don't feel like there's a turmoil within or something.
You don't feel like you like asking questions or what?
Like, maybe in a way, to put it simply, it's like,
Yeah. So
it's kind of like, if I don't get things done my way, then how do I actually reconcile?
Oh, that's the issue. I'm not getting my way. Oh, okay. So what I often do is I'll say, okay, let's try it the other person's way, and I'll learn something. Yeah?
Thank you.
Or, if I really, think there's some special value to my idea, then I'll, try and explain it further to the other person. Yeah. But otherwise, I'll say, I might say, well, let's try it this other way and see what happens. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Okay. I think we have to close for the evening.